when you do a crime, and shut up, like, don't go out there and brag, even if you didn't, like, if you're just saying, yeah, I'm doing well in trial, and you're in the middle of a trial, don't go out and talk on the phones in the jail, and yeah, those phone calls may not have been recorded at that time. The one thing I will say about OJ's defense is the fact that they pivoted on the race card was pretty ballsy, because at the end of the day, nowadays more, I guess, you can kind of tell probably in the early 90s a little bit more where people stood on the social scale when it comes to race relations. But now it's hard to pull the race card.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Only Lawsuits podcast, where we discuss lawsuits going on around the country, along with how they tie into moments in pop culture. Today, we have a very interesting episode. We're going to start off with the Menendez brothers. There was recently a Netflix special that's come out. So, Farah, I haven't seen the show yet. I know you've binged through it. My knowledge about the case thus far is that, from what I know in the past, that these were two brothers that murdered their parents, went on a spending spree with the inheritance that was left to them. And then when authorities finally caught up to them, they then came forward and brought up in court that they were being sexually abused by the father. Am I kind of on point with that?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm a true crime junkie, so I've been following this case for a long time. And, shout out to Ryan Murphy, the American Horror Story. He's also the guy that came up with the Dahmer series, if you guys have watched this. So this is like the Monster series, Dahmer, and now the Menendez brothers. This is the second series of the Monster series for him. So basically, yes, their defense at this point was that, that their parents were molesting them. It was mostly their father, but it did come out during their defense that their mother was also complicit and also was molesting them as well. They actually did have a good defense in this. It was just, because they were so young and, doing these spending sprees and appeared to just be bratty, spoiled children that in the court of public opinion, they were just not likable, like we've said many times before.
So one of the things that I thought was weird about this this series, I knew nothing about this case before. I do like true crime stuff. I love the Ryan Murphy stuff that's been put out there. Dahmer was a great series. A little dicey from time to time. And by no means do I think it's like great to like idolize these murderers and stuff like that. But I do think especially from people like that are involved in the legal atmosphere, we consume this stuff. But the one thing about this case that I thought was really weird, especially in the Netflix series did a great job on it, was they talked about the dynamics of the client's actions, the lawyer's actions, and the public perception of both. So one of the big things that I paid attention to was obviously the tapes that came out from the therapist. And I found a video that kind of does a little bit of summary just for people that don't know, so we could watch that really quick.
Menendez, the infamous brothers, the savagery of their crime, the murders of both their mother and father seem beyond comprehension. Tonight, for the very first time out of court, you will hear their story. Tonight, watching our interview, you can reach your own verdict about them.
Barbara Walters,
we begin
the
with the crime itself.
The GOAT?
A hot August night in 1989, the Beverly Hills mansion of entertainment executive Jose Menendez. He and his wife Kitty are watching television in the family room. Suddenly, a brutal volley of shotgun fire. Jose Menendez is killed by a close-in shot to the head. He has 5 other shotgun wounds. Kitty Menendez's body is riddled with shotgun pellets.
She had 10 wounds on her. She was getting blasted all over that room.
Don't tell my parents.
Pardon me?
Don't tell my parents.
Were they shot?
Yes.
They were shot?
Yes.
The voice of Lyle Menendez, then 21 years old, who tells police that he and his brother Eric, then 18, discovered the bodies as they returned home from a movie. Lyle and Eric Menendez lied successfully for months. But if their crime was a horror movie, their undoing was the stuff of soap opera. Eric, in torment, confessed his crime to his therapist, Dr. Jerome Oziel. Lyle then also admitted to the murders. Their confession was overheard by Oziel's mistress, Judalon Smith, and she went to the police. Lyle was arrested in California. Eric, who had been traveling overseas, voluntarily flew home to surrender. 3 years later, the Menendez brothers went on trial for their lives.
Okay, so that's really interesting. So before you say anything, that is what I remember, was that the mistress was super unhappy, or she had a breakdown in the relationship with the therapist, and because of that, she came forward and told the authorities about what happened.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that like kind of caught my eye was the kind of the screw ups in this case, right? What were the screw ups? Number one, look, if you just killed your parents, right, and you call and you leave a police, you call the police and there's a 911 recording of you crying saying someone killed my parents, I just came home from the movies, and then it comes out later on that you actually killed your parents, that looks very bad.
And don't say there was a bunch of smoke in the room. Don't say it was the mafia, because then where's the disconnect? How was there a bunch of smoke in the room if you weren't there? And, what was the time frame if it was the mafia?
Well, yeah. And that's the other thing is they went and put a bunch of facts into something and kind of dug their own hole, which in my opinion, look, if the LAPD, was LAPD or I don't know if it was LAPD, whatever police department in California screwed that up and didn't investigate them from the beginning, they are idiots in my opinion. But at the end of the day, look, they gave so many facts out there in the public. They made statements in the public that eventually helped do them over and kind of led into what you were saying in the court of public opinion, that it just made them not believable. The other big screw up, in my opinion, was the fact that they went and disclosed this to the therapist, which is okay. Disclosing something that's wrong with you to your therapist, you do have confidentiality stuff that kicks in. But when you allow your therapist to record it and it's done in such a manner that his mistress overhears it, that is the craziest thing for me. And I think that's what really started the downfall for their defense, because I do look, after hearing the story, seeing the Netflix series and doing a little bit of research here and there, I do believe, yes, there probably was some sort of molestation that happened. And that's definitely horrible. Now, does it fit a imperfect self-defense? I don't know. I don't practice criminal law. I don't do, defense like that, criminal defense like that for murder cases. But at the end of the day, I thought just from a legal standpoint, it was just a super weird thing. And,
well, based on the previous case, just the previous case to the one that their attorney had defended prior to the Menendez brothers, she could have won this case. It was just a series of bad decisions made by the Menendez brothers. It was a series of bad decisions also on her part as their attorney. Just appearing, just like when she pulled the jurors after the mistrial, people just didn't like the attorney either. She was also not. She was not polling well with them. They didn't like her. They scrutinized the way that she was constantly objecting. So it just goes to show you could have the best defense, but if you don't have likability, it's not going to work for you.
Do you guys think that based off of what actually transpired in the case, and you brought up the law of public opinion, or the court of public opinion, that if they didn't come out, make all these statements, they came out initially from the very beginning saying that they murdered the parents in self-defense, or they killed the parents in self-defense right from the very beginning, do you think that the entire case would have played out differently?
I think it would have played into their defense better, because then it's kind of like you don't have a few months gap where you're buying Rolexes, buying Porsches, spending your inheritance, which is it just looks bad, man. It's the same concept as if you get a life insurance check if you kill your wife. That it comes out, you kill your wife and you're just out blowing money. Think about how that looks.
Yeah.
Number one, I think it would have helped their defense and solidify that imperfect, self-defense claim more, from my understanding of it. Now, is it smart to say, yes, I killed my parents? That is the ultimate question.
Yeah.
And in the Netflix series, remember they showed a section right when OJ got the OJ situation happened. OJ actually, I didn't even realize this, but evidently it's true. OJ was in the cell next to one of the Menendez brothers, and the Menendez brother was telling him, "Oh, Robert Shapiro is our attorney. You should just
he screwed us over.
Yeah,
you don't want to have the same defense because he told us, don't admit guilt, and you should not hire that guy."
And they were telling OJ to say, "Yeah, I did it." And literally, if you look at it, the defense strategies on both are like polar opposites. One said, yeah, or one said they didn't do it. Then they said, yes, we did it. OJ just said, I never did it. And his defense strategy played off at the end because
ultimately that's what worked for OJ.
The glove didn't fit. They quit, So it was actually like, goes to show you your legal team has a lot to do in it because look, you saying you did something versus just blatantly denying it, even when in OJ's situation, we all kind of knew he might have done it. Just the fact that he said he never did it. He never said he did it. Mm-hmm. It helped.
And he appeared more remorseful. These two were on a shopping spree. Even though Lyle was more likable on the stand, he was more believable because of the time frame in which, there was things there was a gap in that time frame. They had time where, he was able to send the letters. He was writing letters to their fans and, he was recorded and, had that book.
So
that came out.
That was the wildest shit because that's
their version of social media at the time, what we were talking about last time.
That's another big thing. When you do a crime and shut up, don't go out there and brag, even if you didn't, if you're just saying, yeah, I'm doing well in trial and you're in the middle of a trial, don't go out and talk on the phones in the jail, and yeah, those phone calls may not have been recorded at that time. Now,
who actually also did that? Robert Durst from the Jinx.
I don't remember. I don't know that.
Okay. We'll bring it up in the next one.
All right. We'll have to talk about that one.
I mean, you guys bring up excellent points though, because OJ is someone that was basically world renowned at the time, right? He was the spokesperson for Hertz. He was someone that was a movie star at one point. He was an NFL star. So he had a lot of media training in a lot of ways. And, people will say in retrospect that he acted his ass off on the stand, but yeah, Johnny Cochran, I mean, when you look at all of the footage, when you watch any of the documentaries, he did an incredible job defending OJ.
The one thing I will say about OJ's defense is the fact that they pivoted on the race card was pretty, ballsy, because at the end of the day, you don't know. I mean, nowadays more, I guess, you can kind of tell probably in the early 90s a little bit more where people stood on the social scale when it comes to race relations. But now, it's hard to pull the race card because
it was because of the riots at the time. The
Rodney
LA
King.
riots.
Yeah, Rodney King. Yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, OJ was interesting, but the one thing I'll always remember from all the documentaries that I've watched about OJ that I thought was interesting is when they brought the jury to go inspect the house and they changed the house to get rid of all of his celebrity friends and all his white friends and him, playing tennis and doing what's, been referenced as white activities and him putting African sculptures and stuff like that. That was genius.
I didn't know they did that.
Yeah, it was mentioned in some of the documentaries I've seen in the Netflix or in the FX series with Cuba Gooding Jr. So I wonder if they regret casting Cuba Gooding Jr. for that.
I mean, now Cuba Gooding Jr. is tied into the Diddy.
The Diddy.
The Diddy stuff as well.
The diddler.
The diddler.
Before we go, this is something I kind of just found recently. Have you guys heard about this Hippo?
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Pink cheeks and dewy rolls, Moo Deng is the hottest little hippo on the planet. An internet superstar who seems to be showing up everywhere.
I can't stop
No.
hearing about it or seeing it
Bro,
on my feed.
what is the deal with this Hippo?
I think it's just, one of those animals that's having its moment in pop culture. The hippo's adorable.
Am I missing something? Is it not just an animal?
The zoo's done a really, really great job
Look at
of
this Hippo.
promoting him or her.
Yeah, this Hippo's got better social media clout than any of us ever
Is it
will
a
have.
baby
Yeah.
hippo? Like
It's a
what's
baby
going
hippo.
on?
Yeah, it's a baby hippo born in a zoo in Thailand.
Okay.
So,
It's called, what is it called? Deng May or something like
yeah.
that? Dude, badass Hippo.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that they care that they're the biggest thing on social media, but
Yeah, that hippo has no idea how famous it is.
It has
To the
no
point,
idea.
To the point where we in Orlando, Florida are talking about it on our podcast.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, no one barely knows how famous we are because we're not really that famous. But
a quick question about these Netflix series and, these series that are done on Hulu and all of these major networks. I mean, take, for example, like FX is there. I saw the trailer for the series on Aaron Hernandez. Do you guys think that in some ways society is glorifying these killers?
I don't think it's a glorification of the killers. I think we as humans like to see people go up and come down. So the reason why I think some of these, the celebrity ones, in my opinion, catch so much attention is because of that. They, these people are so high up in society. It's the same reason people are following the Diddy case. These people were high up in society. They were super wealthy. They had it all. And then it's just, it's the story of watching it all crash and burn. It's interesting to bring these people back down to a normal level. It is an interesting thing to watch.
But I can understand the celebrity aspect, but or even like the athlete aspect, right? But when you have people like Ted Bundy, Jeffrey
for
Dahmer,
true crime?
yeah, for true crime, and like not only are there all of these documentaries or these TV shows, there are movies. So, I'm always curious because like you have people who are like really obsessive about like this type of content.
That's me.
So why do you watch
Yeah,
it?
why do you watch it?
I think it's, to some extent, it's a morbid curiosity. Like, once you've consumed enough scary movies and you're just like, I know this is all fake content, and sometimes you just want to know what goes on behind the scenes. Sometimes you just want to know like the psychology of like, have you seen like Mindhunter and things like that? Sometimes you want to know the psychology behind why do these people do these types of things? And also maybe to some extent it's like, how can I prevent myself from being a victim of one of these things?
Yeah, I think for me, I think I like it because like I just like to see how stupid some criminals are, right? Like in the wild shit that people do, like I'm amazed with the things that people say and do. When in Mindhunter, when they talk about how Ed Kemper like cut, I think it was his mom's head off or something like that, I was like, holy.
Yeah.
And
He also
then-
likes to try on women's shoes.
Yeah, and then like Dahmer's shit. I mean, everyone knew about Dahmer, but like I think the crazy thing about Dahmer was watching the way the city reacted to the point where they like demolished that whole building. And I just think it's the reaction in like, number one, the action of these criminals, seeing how crazy the humans can be, and sometimes how stupid they can be. I tend to watch, we've got a 13-year-old, and we basically tell him like, he hates the fact that I make him watch true crime stuff, but it's something my parents used to do to me. They used to sit me down and be like, look, watch it, what the shit's going on, because Like, people are crazy and, don't trust strangers and this, that, and the other. And to a certain extent, I think that's one of the reasons why I watch it, because it's like, you're right. Like, you don't want to be a victim. So I think it's just interesting, like psychology of people and just human actions interesting.
It's an easier cautionary tale than the boogeyman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's some dark. I went through a period of time where, on Apple, they have like these true crime stories, and you go through all of like these, different situations, whether it's somebody being murdered or, getting away with like scamming insurance companies. And then after a certain point in time, you're like, damn, dude, like this is putting me in a really pet space.
Yeah. But
there are
it's
a lot of
like,
fucked up people out there.
But it's like, I don't know, like I love horror movies, right? I'm the same way. I love horror movies. Just went to Halloween Horror Nights, a week or so or 2 weeks ago. And it's just, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about like scary stuff and just dark stuff. I'm not even a super dark person mentally or anything. Like I think it's interesting. It's just weird. But like certain movies, even certain horror movies, like I love the Insidious movies. Yeah. But one movie that like for some reason I like it, but it's just weird at the same time. Sinister. What's the other one? The Black Book? Was it The Black Phone? Like,
that's a really good one.
They're all just so weird. And I'm just like, I hate the fact that kids were involved. I hate watching horror movies involving kids. But I think it just goes back to like the fact that people, these are, even so though some of these stories are like not real or sometimes based on a true story, the fact that like I worry about, like, I'm having a kid in a few weeks and like I'm worried about like this shit happening to my kid, and even Caden. Like it's definitely interesting. It's just weird stuff.
I think your perspective is on point in the sense that the scariest thing is that it's actually real. It's not based on reality. It is reality. It actually happened. Yeah. So when you watch a horror movie like It, or you watch any of like these spiritual horror movies where they're dealing with ghosts and stuff like that, there's some, they are kind of scary, but you are right. When you think about Jeffrey Dahmer, you think about Ted Bundy, you think about like any of these mass murderers. I mean, it actually happened. Segue into something a little bit more upbeat, on the tech side. Apple's newest iOS update came out. Mike is a huge Apple guy. So what's your perspective on the new iOS update, and how do you think it's going to affect law? I think the new iOS update is amazing for professionals like myself, for offices, for small business owners. I think it's amazing. It's going to be a nightmare for criminals though. And people that engage in like that learn how to use it. Like it's going to be a dream for certain lawyers, because there is so much AI tech. There's now a feature on your iPhone with the new iOS, Apple Intelligence, that it basically allows you to record your call. First, when you hit the button, it literally announces this call is being recorded. And once that announcement's there, that call is fair game, basically, for evidence, right? So not only does the recording become potential evidence that you can use, but, transcription as well. For me as a lawyer, definitely a dream to have something like that. We deal with a lot of cases and family cases where you have harassment, or you have, a party that's just crazy. And it's great to have that sort of evidence available to you, because look, if, your significant other and you are in a fight, and, in the heat of the moment, he or she calls you up, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. But then when you go and file an injunction, he shows up to court. He's wearing a, perfect suit, hair slicked back, has a good job, looks like a perfect person. It's going to be hard to convince a judge that he said those things. But if you have a recording where he says that, I'll tell you what, I have seen judges literally look at people when they walk in one way, and when they hear the
that comes out of their mouth, they look at them a total different way. I think the new AI features are amazing. Apple, I mean, for the longest time, they've been tracking features that we have used in our firm. We go into cases and we literally look at our clients' history of where they've been to put pieces of an accident together. So like car accident happens, one person says, "Oh, I wasn't there," or "I wasn't driving," or "It didn't happen at this time." We go back and we look at, okay, this is what time the phone says this person stopped in the middle of the road, and at this time they were waiting in a parking lot, So you're saying, and your phone says you were here at the same time. You're saying that didn't happen? So it's those types of technology, and the use of technology in law and litigation is amazing now. It's like, it makes our job so much easier.
This is a question that goes out to both of you, because I remember when I came back and I started at the firm, January of last year. And I remember bringing up ChatGPT to you, and because I had messed around with it the year prior. You've now in turn taken ChatGPT and you've actually become like a master at prompting it to basically help aid in a lot of the cases that you do take on. So for both of you, how has it streamlined your workflow with these cases? And do you think for law firms, law firms and law firm staff, does it benefit the business end in the long run?
So I'll start with that. We do utilize AI for cases. Now, the one thing we don't do is we don't use case-specific information for any AI like ChatGPT or anything, because it's definitely a no-no. What I actually use ChatGPT to do sometimes is help me think. I'll have it help me think of new angles to approach certain legal concepts. And if I want to get something done, I will, it's kind of like a little think, what is it? What do they call those think tanks?
Yeah.
It's kind of like where you can just put the minds of the computer together and just be like, look, I want this to kind of frame an argument this way. And it gives me a different perspective that I otherwise wouldn't have thought of, or would have taken me longer to think of. And what is the result? It helps me handle my cases more proficiently and also save my clients money. That's the biggest thing, is because before I would have to bill a client for 3 to 4 hours to sit down, think of certain things, analyze certain angles. Now I can do it in 30 minutes, and I can spend the other 3.5 hours that I would have otherwise been billing for research and stuff like that. I use it for actually moving the case along. So it's one thing I've integrated into the firm, and I've told Farah especially, like, this is Farah. I've told, my case managers, I've told everyone, if you don't learn how to use this tool, it's going to replace you. Yeah. And when I told you that, how did that make you feel?
I still don't think it's going to replace me, first of all, because there's still a lot of, it's still a computer. There are still errors, because it's AI, it's learning as you go. Like when you input things, it's still learning. It asks you how can I fix this? How can I make my answers better? So it is a really, really great research tool, but there's still a learning curve with human error, but also with, the computer or the AI trying to figure out what it is exactly you're trying to do. But there's also like case text and other things like that. And it does help going through cases like on Adobe and stuff. Not just, obviously we're not putting that into ChatGPT, but like going through really long documents. If we're trying to look for something specific, it makes it much easier going through a PDF, because you can't Control F something on a PDF.
Yeah. And there's a lot of things that, I think the weird thing for us is there's a lot of things we can't, utilize the features for, right? So like when it comes to marketing and stuff like that, I can use AI to help generate marketing meeting agendas. I can use AI to help me generate marketing ideas. But when it comes to actually like running through a case, you're 100% right. There's still things that we have to do because ethically we can't utilize AI to do it. Number one. Number two, I don't think AI will ever be able to do certain things that certain professionals can do. And look, Skynet, we could be approaching Skynet, right? Like Terminator could be a real thing in the next few years, but it's one of those crazy things that technology is just moving at such a rapid pace that I embrace it. I love it. I think technology is the most amazing thing to be, thinking back as a kid, going from where I used to play the little Oregon Trail on the big ass Mac with the colors. And now I can, play Grand Theft Auto on my cell phone. Amazing. I think technology is the most amazing thing in the world.
It is really, really crazy to see how far it's advanced, and as the years go by, how quickly that time frame happens. Because even when you look at something like ChatGPT as a tool, it was introduced to the public at the beginning of last year with Microsoft purchasing OpenAI, and you've seen so many additional add-ons to it. So I think like there are a multitude of different fields that have benefited from AI. But you are right. If you don't learn to embrace the tool, you can be replaced by it in certain jobs. Because I noticed that in the tech sector, there are a lot more layoffs because of something like ChatGPT or because of AI in general.
Well, look at this, right? So you got to find that balance. And this little piece of woodworking that I have right behind us, this is something I bought from a local guy. I love Facebook Market. If no one knows anything, like everyone makes fun of me because I'm always on Facebook Market looking for shit.
Give a shout out to this guy because he did an incredible job. Not only on this, we have another piece right here, which I'll put as an image for the video.
We'll throw his info up there just so we can get this guy some business. But look, I don't know how he does it. And I think we're going to meet with him one day and just talk to him to get some more pieces. But like, look, that is a, Florida cutout. It's got beautiful engravings of, Florida things. It's got turtles. It's got gators, dolphins, manatees, Indian head. These are cool things that I'm sure a computer wouldn't have necessarily thought to put together. Because, we can go and type in, hey, make a Florida themed, picture, and it'll put these things together because this is just stuff but the way this was put together, I don't think, you still need that human element. And I mean, I think you always learn to balance the human and technological dynamic. It creates amazing things because look, could a human have done this? Yes. Could he have made 30 and 40 of them and sold it for the low price that we paid for it? No. So it's like you need to have that dynamic to make things more accessible to people, whether it's products, knowledge, whatever it is. You need to find that balance. And by no means do I want to replace Farah. I don't want to replace anyone. I want them to learn these tools and embrace them so we can grow and continue to be, a prominent, law firm in the future.
So far, we'll end it with you. What have you noticed with like AI right now, and like not only outside of law, with like everything going on nowadays in society? Do you think that it's going to change the scope of culture in the next like few years?
I don't know. I feel like AI is popping up on everything. Like I'll just open up any app and it'll be like, hey, AI is available on this thing. And I'm just like, kind of like, like it's kind of startling sometimes because it'll just be like some highlighted thing. So it's almost like the machines are taking over.
I feel the same way.
Yeah. I mean, look, Skynet's real, dude. Get guns.
But I think Mike's right. You got to just learn to embrace the change and try to figure out how to coexist.
Hey, as long as we don't have AI guns running around, I think we're good, baby.
I think we're good. I mean, until Elon perfects these Tesla bots that he's been working on, man. That's going to be a completely different thing. But I am curious to see how it ends up panning out, as we get older. To see how far technology's come. Being in my mid 30s now, it'd be cool to see what ends up happening when I'm like in my mid 50s in the next 20 years.
Hopefully we have flying cars and, skateboards from Back to the Future. Realistically, I just think it's just cool watching it all play out, man.
Wasn't Back to the Future supposed to be like right now?
Yeah, like we should have had flying skateboards and what was that?
They were so wrong about so many things.
Yeah, but they were so right about so many things.
There's certain things that like they were right about, but yeah, like the flying cars, the hoverboards, none of that is
Homelessness in
transpired.
California.
We thought we were gonna have flying cars for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Idiocracy is probably the one that's closest to how society's becoming.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But man, another great episode, guys. Covered a lot of topics. Hey, if you're tuning in, thank you. If you have any suggestions, please leave them in the comments below. The Only Lawsuits podcast, sponsored by Kraken Law Group.
We love your feedback. We want to keep hearing from you. We're going to start bringing some guests on, attorneys, business owners, anyone that wants to possibly get involved and do kind of what we do. Let us know. We're always happy to entertain the idea.
Awesome. Well, guys, until next time. Peace.